It is my pleasure to call to order the Peoria Public School Board of Education meeting for November 22nd to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick, Mr. Claus,
Here.
Mr. Murphy,
Here.
Dr. Ranking, Mr. Shaw,
Here.
Mrs. Ross,
Here.
President Wilson.
Here.
We have 7 present.
Thank you. Would you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to announcements, we will start with, do we have any announcements over the virtually? Mike Murphy?
No, I don't have any.
No announcements? Okay. So we'll start with Mr. Doug Shaw.
Thank you. I have a few of them. COVID-19 vaccines for ages 5 through 11. Peoria Public School students aged 5 through 11 are now eligible to get the COVID-19 vaccine through our health partner, Unity Point Health. If you would like your student to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, please go to the district homepage to find the vaccine consent form and turn that form into your school office. COVID-19 booster vaccines. Peoria County Health Department is currently offering booster vaccines from 8:30 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday for those 18 years and older. This includes all 3 vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. These are all walk-in based, no appointment necessary. The health department is located at 2116 North Sheridan Road in Peoria. And Richwood's Craft Show. Mark your calendars for the 37th annual Night Before Christmas Craft Show, which will be held from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, December 4th at Richwoods High School. Dozens of vendors will be lining the hallways with handmade crafts and goods, perfect for the holiday season. Parking is free, and food will also be available for purchase. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. High school registration has officially begun. Students and counselors have received copies of the 2022-2023 Peoria Public School High School Curriculum Guide. 8th grade students will begin the high school registration process after winter break. Students in 8th grade will work with their counselors to develop a plan that includes general graduation requirements and out-of-classroom learning opportunities related to your chosen career plan. 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students will continue this process with their high school counselor. Vice President Ross.
Thank you. 22-23 Boundary Waivers. The 22-23 Boundary Waiver application window opens Monday, December 6th for the students entering K through 8th grade. If your child is currently attending school on a boundary waiver, you do not need to reapply unless the child has reached the highest grade level at that school. Boundary waiver applications must be submitted by Saturday, January 29th, 2022. For complete details and to find the application, go to www.peoriapublicschools.org. After December 6th, scroll to the site's shortcut and click on Boundary Waiver Applications.
Thank you.
School buildings will be closed Wednesday, November 25th through Friday, November 26th for Thanksgiving break next week. The district offices will also be closed on Thanksgiving Day and Friday, November 26th. School resumes on Monday, November 29th.
ICC Accuplacer exam. Students registering for an Illinois Central College ICC dual credit class for the first time must take an academic assessment called the Accuplacer. To take the Accuplacer exam, students must first apply for admission to ICC. You will need your Social Security number. Please make sure you enter information accurately. Soon after applying, you will receive important details by email, including your ICC ID number and username. Students must register and schedule an appointment for the AccuPlacer exam online. For more information, talk to your high school counselor or go to icc.edu/admissions/academic-placement.
Good evening. Building name submission deadline. The Peoria Public School Board's Building Committee is overseeing the process of renaming 6 school buildings. The deadline for the public to submit a name suggestion is Wednesday, December the 1st. Name suggestions should be emailed to Lynn Costick at lynne.costick, COSTIC@psd150.org. As a reminder for the criteria for potential suggestions, if submitting a person as a suggested name, the individual must have resided in Peoria, Illinois as an adult. Number 2, the submitted name or names must have made contributions to the community, Peoria Public Schools, or children. Number 3, submissions must include why you feel this person should be considered, as well as a brief biography of the individual. All submissions that meet this criteria will be considered. As an addendum to that, it's the intention of the committee to submit the recommended names to the members of the Board of Education and Administration no later than Monday, February the 28th, 2022, and within 45 days of those names having been submitted, the committee will schedule an open town hall discussion. The date, time, and location of the meeting will be announced at a later date. Thank you.
Next, we have community contribution, Paul's Giving Independence, that I believe is going to be a presentation. Julie Cranwell?
Good evening, and thank you for having us. My name is Alyssa Manuelson, and I'm a high school teacher at Richwoods High School. I have a facility dog, and Julie Cranwell has Mia with her as well. She also has a facility dog, and we have one other facility dog named Ruby, and she's at CT Vivian. So our dogs came to the district in the last couple of years, and as I mentioned before, Ruby is with Natalie James, and she's at CT Vivian. Natalie is a special ed teacher, and we'll talk more about her information in just a bit here. Mia is here with Julie, and she's in her place command. She's doing really well. And Piper is my facility dog, and she is back here with Jenny, trying to get treats right now. This is Ruby, and Ruby is located at CT Vivian. So Ruby's stationed at CT Vivian with Natalie. She's been in the district the least amount of time, but she's doing a fabulous job in her work. She was a rescue dog that was actually returned by a family because they couldn't handle her as a puppy, and PGI pulled her into the program. She joined us at 7 months old and went to Logan Correctional Center at about a year old. We have a partnership with the correctional facility where we have inmates that are working with the dogs 24/7 to help them. So once she completed the Helping Paws program at Logan, she was sent on a furlough, as we call it, and due to COVID, just like our students had to go through online learning, Ruby also had to go through at-home and online learning. So she joined Natalie in May of 2021, and her actual birthday is Christmas, so she'll turn 3 years old this year. Mia is here with Julie. Mia is about 4 years old. She's a sheepdog collie cross. We actually have a DNA test, so we do know what she's comprised of. She was from Kentucky, and she was found abandoned on the side of the road in a rainstorm. She came via Camp Jean to Paws Giving Independence and was trained mostly with Independence and with the WAGS trainers at Bradley. She also did some time at Helping Paws at Logan Correctional Center. And then after she completed that, all of our dogs go through transitional training. and WAGS trainers, which are college trainers, took her through the rest of that program before she was placed with Julie. So she loves treats, squirrel watching, naps, cuddling with her kids. We refer to our kids, all of our District 150 kids are our kids, so we refer to them as that when we talk about them. Mia's favorite command is, "Mama Mia, go to your pizzeria," AKA she goes and lays on her dog bed in her classroom. Piper is my facility dog, and she's at Richwoods. She's about 3.5 years old, and she is a black lab pointer mix. She actually came from Southern Illinois. I pulled her as a puppy. I also serve on the board of directors for Foster Pet Outreach in Peoria. So I had her at 12 weeks old, and I had some cute video of her, and Michelle, who is one of the founding members of Paws Giving Independence, reached out and said, "Hey, can we pull her into the program?" So Paws ended up Piper ended up leaving Foster Pet, and she went to a trainer named Julia over in Bloomington, and she did most of her training with Julia. She did a little time at WAGS and a little time at Logan as well. And then when it came time to match up Richwoods High School with a facility dog, Piper actually was matched and came full circle back to me. So I got to have her as a puppy, and now she's my permanent dog. She loves food of any kind, squeaky toys in particular, her cat, and other dogs in our home. Her favorite command is closer or pressure. So Paws Giving Independence is a program that places service dogs, companion dogs, and facility dogs, and their information is located on the screen. Donna Cosner, one of the board members, is here tonight. She's seated back here in a black shirt. She helps to place dogs within the District 150 program as well. We have a couple of dogs that are or a couple of people on the wait list to get dogs within our district. One of them is Jill Hayes over at Washington Gifted. They will be getting a facility dog in the near future. And we think it is Agnes, who is currently doing her training at Richwoods with Piper. So the biggest thing to understand about our dogs versus a regular dog that most of us have at home is that they go through extensive temperament testing. They spend between 1.5 and 2 years of formal obedience and service work training. All of our dogs were service dog trained. It's just that for a lot of them, they have to enjoy their job in order to want to do that. And in Mia's case and in Piper's case, both of them are very social, and they're very good at the facility work. So that's what both of them went into. We are required to pass multiple public access tests with our dogs, and we have to repass that every single year. We also have worked with our dogs in a lot of public settings, and we're constantly training. Our dogs are certified to work in public settings as a service dog. We are walked around large groups of children and worked around large groups of children, and we work with children that have many different abilities and disabilities. So Helping Paws, I'm not going to read the whole screen for you, but essentially Helping Paws is located at Logan Correctional Center. Paws Giving Independence has an excellent relationship with them. The director of their program is Brock, and he's a pretty awesome human being. They fundraise by selling different products and help to raise money so that they can have the dogs in the program. The women that train the dogs at the facility spend a lot of time coming up with ways to train them in a pretty isolated setting. But because they have so much time, our dogs get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week training, and it's 365 days a year. So when the dogs come out of that program, I mean, not only do they know all of the commands that you wish your dog knew, but they also know some really cool tricks and commands that you can't even imagine. Bradley University and Illinois State University also have student trainers, so they've got 2 separate service clubs. Bradley is known as WAGS, and Illinois State is Independence, and they have students that go through a selection process, and they work one-on-one with our dogs as well. So pictured up on the top left is at Bradley, and that's Mia when she was going through training. And on the top right, that's actually Ruby when she was at Independence for a furlough. So they take the dogs to classes just as we have the dogs in our classrooms with us. They also expose them to different things that we can't do in our free time because we all work and whatnot. So they've got lots of time to help our dogs out and get them to be the best they can be. So Richwoods this year has become what we know as a host site. And basically in the fall of 2020, we started to host dogs on furlough from Logan Correctional. So I take Piper to work, and then I often have dogs that'll come for the day, or sometimes I'll furlough a dog and they'll stay with me for up to a week. So far, 8 dogs have come through Richwoods High School on visits. We currently have Mia and Wendell that come to Richwoods on a consistent basis. And Wendell will stay with us until he heads to Helping Paws in next month at Logan Correctional. Agnes actually started her transitional training today, so I had Agnes the boxer, which is in the center of the picture. Wendell is to her left. That's the little black dog. and she'll stay with me until she gets final placement. She goes on her first visit with Jill Hayes from Washington Gifted December 7th. The benefits to having facility dogs in the school, a lot of times Julie and I will get asked this, as does Natalie over at CT Vivian. We see a lot of emotional and physical health benefits with our kids and with the other staff members, because there's nothing like being stressed out, especially as we've all gone through the pandemic with COVID. It's been a pretty hard year for a lot of people, and sometimes just having the dog in the facility can make all the difference. It helps to reduce blood pressure. It improves focus and attention. In my classroom, my kids are all about getting to know Piper and seeing her every day. And I have random kids that will come into my room and they'll say, "Oh, it's the dog lady." They don't even know my name, but they know Piper. And I'll see them out in the public. "Oh, hey, you work at Richwood's dog lady?" "Yes, I do." And they love Piper, and they love Wendell and Agnes, just as what Julie sees at her school. So animals that are in our facility can also help with behavioral modification. I've seen it time and again. If I take the dog out in the hallway, it helps to kind of bring the mood down a little bit. They also help to reduce caregiver stress. I've seen that with staff members. And they decrease communication barriers. Our ASL program uses Piper quite a bit over at Richwoods High School. We have several students that come in and they'll sign to her, and she seems to understand them pretty well at this point. Dogs in the community versus our facility dogs. Basically, our dogs have gone through pretty extensive temperament testing that most of the dogs in the community have not. Julie and I both have 26 hours of initial handler training, and we've done additional training since then. We also do 2 home passes with our potential dog before we become a team. 2 public access tests have to be passed initially to be certified, and then we pass it again yearly in order to maintain a working team at the schools that we are at. So a question that's also often asked is, how much does it cost to have a facility dog? And the PGI group has a post up on their Facebook page about this right now, but it's usually between $10,000 and $20,000 if you have a dog. However, our dogs are gifted to the handlers because of PGI and their supporters, so we didn't pay anything for our dogs. However, we do carry liability insurance separate from what we have on our own homeowners insurance or as teachers. We also pay all vet bills and standard cost of living bills for our dogs. So once they are placed with us, they become our dogs, and essentially we adopt them, so we cover everything for them. Someone will ask if it's our dog, and yes, they are our dog, and no, my dog does not live at school, although she thinks she lives at school sometimes. Piper and Agnes like to cuddle on the dog bed when they're at school together. So why do they wear a vest? It's basically so that they're in a working frame of mind. In the morning, I'll tell the dogs, "Hey, we got to get dressed," and they know there's a certain command for that where they put their vests on. For us, the vests make the dogs easily identifiable to students in the community, and when they're in their vests, they're working. That's not to say when we have spirit weeks, because I teach at a high school, they do dress up for spirit weeks. Piper has her elf on a shelf costume to wear for spirit week in a couple weeks, and Mia has also dressed up in costume for stuff as well. So what do they do at school? Mia is a firm believer in the pressure command with her kids. It's similar to like a weighted blanket across a kid's lap or across a kid's chest. If a kid's having some anxiety or just seems to be really amped up, the dog can go in and give them pressure. Mia visits different classrooms. She visits with students struggling both emotionally and behaviorally. She's also a part of the incentive program through PBIS, and she teaches kids to interact with the dog in a positive manner. Ruby is basically utilized during therapy sessions. She teaches the kids how to play fetch with her. She snuggles during their stretch time, and she helps the students to calm down. She also likes getting treats from her kids. Ruby is in a specialized one-on-one classroom with her teacher. She also serves as a bridge at CT Vivian because it's a very unique school where she is with the special ed program most of the time, but she also visits the general ed population pretty regularly. Piper visits different classrooms. She goes to Spanish every day during the 3rd hour, so she's learned some commands in a foreign language. She also does hall duty and knows that as one of her commands. We do utilize her as a therapeutic intervention with some of our 504 and IEP students. They'll come down and hang out in my tandem classroom with her for however long they need until they're ready to go back to their classroom. She is a teaching modality in the classroom. We needed an extra model a couple of weeks ago, so she put her paw up so we could tie a ribbon around her paw to say that she was injured. We also learned to take pulses on her this year. And she's been great for crisis intervention. I've taken her down to Manual. Brimfield's borrowed her, and Richwoods has used her when we've had students pass away or sudden death of someone close to a student. She's also a modality for students that are dealing with anxiety on a consistent basis. And one of the other questions we get asked is why we decided to do this. Julie and I have both been in the system for a long time, and we understand the social and emotional benefits of having the dogs in the classroom. There's a lot of pros to it, including the decreased blood pressure, the pain management, improved memory and cognition. And it just makes the workplace a little bit more of a place that you want to be in, because the environment can become very toxic very quickly. And so with our dogs there, it just makes it a better place to be. So I wanted to introduce Donna Kosner and Jenny Lapke. They are from Paws Giving Independence, and if anyone had any questions for us or for them, we're open to answering any of those. Otherwise, thank you for having us.
Thank you for the presentation. Would the board members like to say anything? No?
Thomas, you want-
Uh,
So the Board of Education is presenting you guys with a Community Contribution Award. So this is for you guys. So thank you for supporting us. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for allowing our dogs in here. We're so proud to work with this district, and like I said, we've got a couple more that'll be coming into the district, and you've got to give a lot of credit to these teachers. We don't just hand them the dogs. They have to come to us for 4 months of training before they're able to take the dogs to school. So thank you for being so welcoming to our program.
Absolutely. Okay, next we have our student showcase presented by AJ Guyton III.
Good evening, everyone. Haven't seen you guys in a while, but been hard at work getting athletics off the ground, moving and going in the right direction. So I want to give a quick review of our 2021 fall sports, which is softball and baseball. First out, I want to thank Dr. Carra for the opportunity. I want to thank Carl Somerville and his Buildings and Grounds crew for their efficiency and work allowing us to play on our properties this year. And properties like CT Vivian, Von Steuben, Lindbergh, Woodruff, and Washington, they were given the job of going out there, lining up the fields, learning as they go, and they did an excellent job at that, allowing our student athletes to play close to home. Josh Collins and his transportation team, they were a little understaffed, but we met and they accommodated our student athletes who needed transportation. We got those kinks worked out. And last but not least, Assistant Athletic Director Blake Johnson for his hard work and contributions and dedication. He was at every game. He helped oversee everything we were doing and allowed us to have someone at each game to make sure that everything ran smoothly. This year, we were able to play. I scheduled 96 games, which is up from 60 from last year, not counting the 4 playoff games, which would make it 100 games. We actually got to play 72 of those games. Living in the Midwest, you get a lot of, sometimes you get rainouts. With softball, we only had 1 rainout, so we were able to play, a longer season. Baseball, we had 2 rainouts, so it was a little different. But we were able to play 72 of those games. Final Four teams who played in our Final Four ended up playing 9 games in the regular season. We partnered with the Park District to play our championship game on their beautiful field at Lower Bradley Park. And it gave our student athletes an awesome experience playing on a college level field, which is something we want to aspire to get to as we continue to grow. Last year, only second place, first and second were awarded trophies, but we did things a little different this year to try to get some momentum and some positivity going with our student athletes. And this year, we gave out first, second place, third place, and fourth place trophies, division champions, American League and National League division champions, MVPs for coaches and players from each division were also awarded this year. So we got a lot of hardware to give out. We gave out a lot of hardware, a lot of worthy winners. So I'll start with our baseball season. I'll get that out of the way because I don't want to go backwards. From baseball, say we had 172 students participate in baseball. Kind of averages about 13 kids per team. Softball, we had 190 students participate. I forgot to give you that number. 96 games scheduled is an increase from 60 from last year. We have played 61 of those games. We had a couple rainouts for baseball, which is typical around that time. That's why you want to schedule more games, give kids more opportunities to play, because we are at bay with the weather. And they played eight total games in the regular season game, 6 and two playoff games. So we was able to get in a solid season, and we want to continue to build on that as we go forward. But, with every season, there's always a team or two that's superior to the other. So we want to give those teams recognition. And lucky for us, both teams are from Washington Gifted Middle School. They were the softball champions, and they also were the baseball champions. But they did a great job of giving us a standard to want to reach by, being a part of each game, by logistically being at each game on time. They did all the little things. They did all the little things on the field, off the field, and that's why they ended up being champions in both baseball and softball. So the softball team was led by an American League Coach of the Year, James Carpenter. Is he here today? He's not here today. Sorry, Miss, and Principal Susan Martin. She did a great job as well. So since I want to bring Susan up so she can read off these fine student athletes who won the championship. They won championship with a record of 9-0. They were also the American League champions. They defeated Rolling Acres in the championship by a score of 5-2. But they played with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and they well deserved. So I'm turning it over to Ms. Martin to read off the champions.
All right, we're just going to go down the list as I call your name. Just come on up. I need Phoebe Ayers, Olivia Barksdale, Emerson Carley, Rhea Ewan, Caroline Harris, Kylie Hayes, McKenna Henderson, Kara Hoffman, Lily Jones, Evelyn Lau, Maeve Mouchard, Adriana Reynolds, Paige Saraf, Ada Shipman-Gosman, Clementine Stone, Sydney Swisher, and Lily Armstrong. You want a team picture?
Yes.
Yeah,
Team,
okay.
don't sit back down.
Oh,
Get a team
softball
picture.
girls.
Stand back up. We get a team picture with that. We also printed up some nice championship T-shirts for the ladies to have,
Wow.
so they can wear them around school.
Yes, you can wear it for spirit wear. All right.
Anybody else? Give it up for those watching softball Wildcats. Great job this year.
First, gonna take the picture. So just turn and face this way. I see. Lily, you good?
That's awesome.
All right, great job. Might as well stay up here with me, Ms. Martin. We got your baseball team to recognize. Baseball team, coached by Coach Andrew C. He's here. All right, cool. He also led them to an undefeated 8-0 record, American League championship as well. But he was also our American League Coach of the Year. So where you at, Andrew? Stand up. Give it up for Andrew. Excellent job. So I'm gonna let Ms. Martin read off that roster.
Okay. All right, and baseball, when I call your name, come on up. Shane Cunningham, Keaton Harding, Isaiah McCall, Brandon Williams, Lou Delano, Andrew Hartman, Samuel McCall, Jackson, you're gonna kill me with that last name. Shalevanets. Benjamin Robinson, Lincoln Adler, Nathan Boyer, Connor Eldridge, Walter Hayes, Hayden Lockbaum, and Jarek Quinn. And Ethan Reynolds. Sorry about that. Oh, and AJ Mitchell. Anybody else? Anybody else want to be on our team?
job, great job. A lot of baseball players play basketball. We open our basketball season up tonight, so.
Win for Washington.
Oh, and we will have your shirts as well.
Okay.
COVID took them away, so we
Okay.
got them coming, so.
I do
Yep.
have Ethan here.
Ethan's here, yep. And so now we're gonna finish off by announcing some of our individual awards. We already announced our American League Baseball Coach of the Year, but we also have it here, our American League Softball Coach of the Year, who led his team to a 5-4 record and a third place finish in the softball championship, Orville Skinner from Von Steuben. Say a few words.
Yeah, AJ's definitely picked up the pace on middle school athletics this year, so it's nice to get it out. As I was telling AJ, we had 12 girls show up and 1 glove. So he was able to get us some equipment, get us some gloves to get the girls participating. Now they actually have a little bit of excitement going into next year, hopefully, to play this sport. So it was nice to get a little equipment and get a little excitement back in middle school sports a little bit. Awesome.
Also, we have our National League Player of the Year here as well. She was a pitcher for the Lincoln Mustangs. She led them to the Final Four. Team finished with a fourth place finish, but she's clearly a great athlete. She plays basketball, she plays softball, and who knows what she's going to play in the spring. DeShanti Hunter from the Lincoln Mustangs. Excellent athlete. Also, our baseball National League Player of the Year, multi-sport athlete as well. He's a pitcher. He has a mean swing, and the future is bright for him in Peoria Public Schools. Ethan Reynolds from Washington. All right, let me make sure. Also, National League Coach, National League Player of the Year. I don't think he's here. He was another pitcher, mean swing from Von Steuben, Andrew Gonzalez, but he's not here. So we'll make sure he get his hardware as well. Is he here? Oh, say nothing to him. This guy has a bright future. Give it up for Andrew. OJ set me up. He told me he wasn't here. And then we have our National League Coach of the Year, who led his team to a 6-0 record. And the things that I look for in the coaches is making sure the teams are there, ready to play every day on time, regardless of who the opponent is. And he did that for his team this year. They were also the National League champions, and they finished with a third place. And that guy there is Dan Cohen from Glen Oak.
I have to second what Mr. Skinner said. AJ has taken this to the next level, and I do look forward to what he's got going. And I also have to say that this wouldn't have been possible without my assistant coach, Jason Church. He really gave me a lot of help and made this very possible for us to be this successful this year. Thank you.
I think we got everybody. One last shout out to the Peoria Baseball Association for really coming out and teaching us about baseball, teaching us about softball, helping us with the dimensions of the field, helping us learn how to put bases in the ground. Mike Olson and Ryan Kinney, who's also a teacher at Glen Oak, they did a great job. So I would be remiss without mentioning them going forward. But I hope I didn't miss anybody. And did I get everybody?
Christian Center with baseball for helping expanding the Washington field.
Mhm.
I mean,
Christian Center, Richwoods Youth Baseball for help expanding the Washington field. Everybody, community really came together and helped put everything together. That's what it's going to take to continue to move us forward. So once again, congratulations to Ms. Martin as she continues to dominate the field in all sports, because her JV team just won the city championship this Saturday down at Woodruff. So they continue to reap success out there at Washington and be the standard that we're all trying to get this thing to get to. So thank you all once again, and we'll see you next time.
AJ? You just want to say keep up the great work with what you're doing. Before everyone leaves, I'd like to thank all the students that played, the coaches and the teachers. But can I have all the family members stand up so we can give you a round of applause as well?
All family members.
Thank you. Okay, next we have district presentation, 2021 reapportionment, Philip Lenzini.
Good evening, President Wilson.
Thank you.
I'm pleased and proud to report to you tonight the proposed reapportionment boundaries that you should, I believe, have been given a couple of days ago that I must say are the very best that we've come up with in the 34 years this court order has been in place. They, with the newest census numbers and modest changes in the past boundaries, we've gotten to very close to the prime numbers we always strive for. There's been a small or modest change in the District 1 boundary line, kind of west of the Emmanuel High School area is how I describe it, to Lincoln Avenue. And that causes the population, the voting age population in District 1 to be only 27 individuals above the 10,324 target number. That's less than 1/4% of the size the law requires, and that's the closest, the lowest it's ever been. The boundary line changes between District 2 and 3 have changed slightly from what was Sterling and Richwoods on the west side to Gale and Reservoir, and effectively makes this population size of District 2 only 40 more than perfect, and District 3 only 66 less than perfect. Both of those are just a matter of 0.15% of 1%, and the other just about 1/5 of 1% from prime. So those are the closest numbers we've ever had. And they're totally consistent with the federal court order, which is our primary goal, of course. I'd be happy to answer any questions about either the process or the result in the sense of these recommended boundary lines for your election districts. I would point out that for at least 2 seats that will be filled next year's election, the petitions can begin to circulate next month. So we're right on perfect timing, so to speak. But I'd be happy to answer or try to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions for Philip on the district 2021 reapportionment? Dr. Reinking.
One of the questions that we sent through Dr. Karat to you, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure this was, We had asked about boundaries, and one of the questions was, can the overall school district boundaries be changed? And we weren't talking about District 150 boundaries. We were talking about district boundaries, like District 1, District 2, District 3, because on the paperwork that was provided to us, it looked like there was quite a large difference in the number of people who were in each of our districts within District 150. So District 1, District 2, and District 3. And so the question of can the overall district boundaries, as in 1, 2, and 3, be changed to make it more equitable, wasn't ever answered. So I guess I'm asking that. Is there a way to make it more equitable?
Well, the court order sets several parameters or rules that we can't change without a major operation and going back to court, of course, without getting into those details. I don't know if you've understood in the sense that District 1, the southernmost district as called for in the court order, must be 1/7 of the total population, voting age population, as reported by the census. That's, governed by the court order, and that is that 10,324 figure that I gave you earlier. That's 1/7 of your voting age population in the school district by the 2020 census. The districts 2 and 3 are required to be electing 3 board members each, and therefore must be 3 times that size, which is 30,973. Those are the figures I was referring to as prime, and none of that really can be changed by anyone except the federal judge.
Okay.
Does that answer it?
I think. I mean, all of the board members had a discussion about this last time, and to me, that makes sense. It's basically determined by the federal government that each district, like you said, District 1 has 1/7 of the voting age. Like, it's determined by the federal government. We can't look at the numbers and say this is actually inequitable, and District 1, we'd like to have more board members. We can't do that. We'd have to go through a whole process.
That's well said, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Reinking. Is there any other questions for board members?
I just wanted Phil to, Phil, this is Martha Ross.
Good evening.
We go back a long way, right?
Yes, we do. We do.
So, just so if people understand when you talk about the courts and the lawsuit, in order for that District 1 to change, we have to go back to court. It doesn't have anything to do with the federal government, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's
The court
correct. It's
order.
the federal court, but yes, it's.
Yes, okay.
You're absolutely right.
I just wanted people to understand that. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions for Philip Lenzini? Seeing none. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you.
We are now at the point of presentation by audience. Presentations by audience are limited to 5 minutes, and we ask that you keep them constructive. Our first presentation will be from Dr. Mary Beth Cunningham. Oh, Mrs. Mary Beth Cunningham.
You know, I almost got there though, so we'll just take it as the mistake that it is. But I just had a Mary Beth Cunningham, 6219 North El Dorado Drive. I just was going to ask for some clarifications about the renaming process. Throughout the last year, a little bit over a year, it was decided about the 6 schools. I paid close attention. One of them is a school I went to. One of my 3 of them are schools I went to. My kid goes to one. I'm all for it. That all said, I think that the instructions look different now than when I submitted. So I'm a flake. I could have totally misread it. Originally, I thought they had to be named after a person, but now I'm seeing some of the instructions saying if it's named after a person. So a lot of people are asking me, does it have to be a person? Or can it be, like how Northmore is, or even like Glen Oak, or like, Hickory Oak or Elm or whatever, we've talked about that. So that was the first question I have. Can it be a non-person? And And I also missed at the beginning, and I think I actually just missed this, that it needed to have ties specifically to Peoria if it's a person. So I missed that, so I need to resubmit my suggestions. I was kind of digging deep on other things. So those are my questions. And I think I'm not the only one who has the questions. Do we need to name it after a person? Was that what was voted on? I thought it was. And that was a September meeting in 2020. And if it can be someone or something named not after a person, maybe we need to know that before the cutoff of December. And does it need to be a Peoria person? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mary Beth Cunningham. Our next speaker for this evening will be Mrs. Nicole Larson.
Good evening. As a teacher in this district, I continue to see the negative effects of passing children on to the next grade level when they have failed the previous year's grade. No computer program will ever get these children to where they need to be, especially when there are so many issues like the sound not working, students logging off before their time is finished, therefore making them start over with the same lesson, and the computers freezing. So here's my concern. I can't meet some of my students' needs academically because they are so far behind. And believe me, I haven't given up on them, and I work with them daily. It's just hard to catch them up when they do not come to school on a daily basis. I can't expect them to understand the core curriculum at first grade when academically they are at a kindergarten level and still grade them on first grade skills. And yes, I am very aware that there are still 75% of the school year left, but I don't have enough time in my day to get them caught up as well as meet the needs of all my other students. Each year, I find myself working to repair the damage that was done by sending a child to the next grade level, even after their previous teacher fought tooth and nail to keep them back, but was told we do not retain students. And I will assure you, I'm not the only teacher who feels this way. So help me understand the policies we currently have in place in regards to grade promotion. And yes, I am aware you are working on updating them. None of the policies we currently have in place say a child cannot be held back. In fact, they state the opposite. Policy 6.280 states a student shall not be promoted based on age or any other social reason not related to academic performance, but we do and have done so for years. It also states if a student misses in excess of 20 absences during the school year, a student could be subject to retention. We currently send letters to parents when their children have missed a certain number of days, and then there is no accountability when that pattern continues. Project Target gets involved, but how many house visits and excuses are they supposed to accept before they start taking parents to court because they are not getting their children to school? And who in the district monitors what Project Target does or does not do? We've made it very easy for parents to work the system, and they will continue to do so until you start following your policies and holding them accountable. And yes, we are still dealing with COVID, but this has been going on long before COVID. COVID has just made it easier for parents. And yes, I am very aware there is research out there that does not support retention, but times are different, and I'm sure those researchers never considered there would be a world pandemic. I'm also aware that parents have had a child retained and supported the teacher's decision, found their child had more confidence, and were not negatively impacted by being held back, especially when it occurred in the lower grades. So what more can I do for my students when I have exhausted all my resources and nothing is making a difference? What more can I do if you won't allow them to be held back? The jury is out. We all know that a supermajority of students in all the states have experienced significant learning loss. So it's our job to come up with something more to get these children caught up. Is Chance Light the answer? Personally, no, unless you plan on them working with more than 50 children at a time. It's not a program for the overwhelming majority of students who are behind. Is Waterford the answer? No, and I've already given my reasons why. It's time to start thinking outside the box and doing things differently. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We've been doing the same thing for years, and clearly those things are not working. You may think they are, but the teachers putting in the work would strongly disagree. So I leave you with these things to think about if you choose to. You offer cyber school as an option for parents. Maybe that should be used when children are chronically absent. Parents should only have two choices. Either get your child to school daily or teach them at home yourself. Would in a transitional class between kindergarten and first and second grade, be a way to meet students where they are and support their social and academic needs? Wouldn't it be more beneficial to use the $650,000 from the CARES Act to utilize the resources we have in our area instead of outsourcing? Wouldn't it be wise to develop policies that you are going to follow, making sure all stakeholders have a clear understanding of them? And finally, wouldn't it be great when all parties that sign the parent-student-teacher compacts every year at conference time, we hold students and parents accountable and responsible for their actions and not just the teachers? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker this evening will be Mr. Terry Knapp.
I'd like to go back to, I didn't get a chance to finish last week, but or 2 weeks ago, the librarian at Richwoods, who was going to be let go and then eventually resigned because supposedly she said the N-word in her house in front of her two daughters, quoting a movie she was watching. I can't not believe that you got to the point you got, because with the trail you've left behind you, I represented a basketball coach, not represented, but volunteered to be a witness in her case. And when the attorneys called me in, she had been dismissed for off-color comments. I won't repeat them here, but she was fired, and then summarily the attorneys from the insurance company came down with Peoria attorneys, and I was called in because I was on her witness list, and I was asked what she supposedly said, what my involvement was. By the time the attorneys from Chicago left, they went out of the room where I was being deposed and had a conversation with the Peoria attorneys. They wound up paying her $350,000 and gave her job back and didn't even go to court because of the malfeasance of your attorneys or whoever advised that action to take place. When Dr. Lathan was here, the Charter Oak fiasco occurred, and the Blue Ribbon School, the attorney spent $140,000 to question some special ed kids, spent $140,000 so Lathan could get the principal. The second person in charge was out at Charter Oak, and it was repeated 3 times at this podium what she said about the school. The assistant went out and she said, if it wasn't for the effing parents, this would be a good school. Nothing was done to her. I can't believe that nothing was done to her. You know, when people use a foul mouth in school, especially adults, they should be remediated. Something should be put in their file. It was simply let go, okay? So that set a precedent. So now when you have anybody from the district go in front for some type of censure, those things are going to be brought up. Recently, a post on a media source was sent to me. 4 different people sent it to me. Okay, I know, I was told all the board members got a copy of it. So I assume you got a copy of it. Only one person on the board, I was told, responded to the parent that it was said to. And in that post was the F word and the abbreviated N word, nigga, by a board member. Now, I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, you got the copies. I know one board member responded to the copy that was sent to him. I don't understand how you people can think this lady could never go to court. That woman at Richwoods would have burned your behind. You wouldn't have had a leg to stand on. Because what you let go on in this district, the kids say it every day. They say the N word every day. They say the F word every day. Nothing happens to them. Well, they're just kids. The people from Glen Oak came up here and told you how their character assassinated, and they're called foul words every day. You do nothing to them. You don't send them home. You don't do anything. Our schools, if you read the article, the 28 high schools were ranked. You know, I believe that Manual was last out of the 28 in the whole area, and then Quest came in right behind them, and Central came in right ahead of them at 27. I mean, what is going on in this district academically? We're talking about the special curriculum we're going to put in. Let's go back to the STEM program. Let's go back to science, you know, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Our kids are getting killed in the classroom because of the stuff that's not being taught and the stuff that's being allowed to take place around all the kids in the district.
Thank you,
Better
Mr.
get it together.
Thank you,
You're
Mr.
never gonna win a case, because all that's going to come back. She knows it.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Appreciate those comments. Up next, we have Miss Jane Gensel. Did I say that last name correctly? Okay.
My name is Jane Gensel. I'm the director of Peoria Opportunities Foundation, which is located in the East Bluff Community Center in the East Bluff. And we're an organization, we're the organization that's been building the 30 houses in the East Bluff. And so we're committed to the neighborhood, and I'm here as Jane Gensel, but I wanted to give you the background of why I even am here. So several years ago, well, I read the article in the newspaper about Glen Oak Community Center or community school and the issues in the school and the issues with Miss Suggs. And as I was reading it, I was like, is this a Miss Suggs that I know? Because a couple of years ago, I asked her to be on the strategic planning meeting or committee for our organization, and she's been involved in that, and so that's how I know her, and that's how we've worked together in a committee. And so it also in the newspaper painted a picture of all the blame being, laying at the feet of the principal. And oftentimes, like we've been the victims of NIMBY, where a lot of people in public are saying all kinds of negative things about us. And oftentimes there's no one there saying the positive things. And so that's basically why I'm here, is just to say the positive things, that there's a balance there, that you have someone on this side saying one thing, someone on this saying something else, and the truth is probably someplace in the middle. I wanted to just say that my experience with Ms. Suggs has been that she is valuable to this East Bluff community, that she understands the problems, and she brings new ideas and incredible enthusiasm rooted in her passion for education and to the children. Oftentimes in that the other thing, that newspaper article, it sounded like gossip. And my guess is that part of it is, how much of it is truly founded in fact. Because the other side is the gossip that I hear in the East Bluff, which is that she's holding people accountable, and that's part of the reason that you have disgruntled employees. There are many, many challenges in education, in this neighborhood, in the system. These challenges didn't happen in the last 3-5 years. And it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort to bring about change. And I just am asking you to give Ms. Suggs the opportunity and the support that she needs to make those changes and to work with, because she is visible in the community. She is a partner in the community. That is one of the things that's going to make a difference in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Gensel. Thank you to all of the speakers tonight. We now have response to audience presentation. Dr. Ikajaku.
Thank you, President Wilson. Just to, on behalf of Dr. Karat and the administration, thank all the speakers. As you know, it's from input like these that you inform policy and practice. The items that were raised The first one from Ms. Mary Beth Cunningham is obviously about building renaming. So that will be handled by a proper board committee. Nicole Larson will definitely be conferring internally. I know Dr. Wilson is here for curriculum and instruction. The grading policy has been obviously what we've been discussed internally. So definitely we will confer internally and need to get back with you if at some point, actually not if, but we'll definitely get back with you on that. With regards to Mr. Knapp, thank you always for holding us accountable. We'll definitely pay heed to your recommendations and act accordingly. And thank you to Ms. Jamie Jensel for the input on Glen Oak. Definitely take all that into consideration as well. Okay, I took some good notes, and when Dr. Karat returns, we will definitely confer and discuss this thing with her. Thank you, President Wilson.
Thank you. We are now at item 10, item number 10, approval of minutes for October 11th and October 25th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Secretary.
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Ranking? Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Thank you. Item number 1, under information items, we have proposed expenditures over $2,500. Any questions for Mick? Seeing none. Item number 2, we have report of requests under the Freedom of Information Act and status of such requests. Dr. Ike?
Thank you, President Wilson. Since our board meeting report on November 8th, 2021, the district has received 1 new Freedom of Information request. There were 2 pending requests noted on that November 8th meeting. And since January 1 to date, the district has received 27 requests for this calendar year for a total of $1,350.
Thank you. We are now ready for the consent agenda. Vice President Ross.
Thank you, President Wilson. Consent agenda consists of number 1, gifts to the school district. Year-to-date, $44,083.93 has been given to the school district. Number 2, payment of bills. Number 3, payment for travel. Number 4, human resources report. And number 5, the reappointment of school districts, voting districts, 1, 2, and 3. That is the entirety of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Vice President Ross. Are there any items that board members would like to pull? Seeing none, any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Ranking? Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Deliberation agenda, item number 6.
Expulsion with the expulsion to be held in abeyance is presented as written.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Ranking?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. And item number 7 under deliberation agenda.
Expulsion to be presented as written.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Madam Secretary?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Ranking?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Presentations and suggestions by board members. Seeing none. Reports from board committees.
Ms. Costick, you have the list that we want to pass around regarding the Buildings Committee, Buildings and Grounds Committee.
Okay.
Okay, we wanted to make sure that people understood the Buildings Committee process as it relates to the naming of schools. Someone brought that up actually tonight, but there's been some misrepresentation of the process. It was on Facebook that there was a board member telling people that only black people can be named, within a school, and that is certainly not the case. And we passed this around so that you can see the criteria, and nowhere does it say that, the gender and/or nationality of a person. So anyone who would desire to submit a name, this is the criteria to use to submit that name. Okay.
Thank you.
So any questions on that? Ms. Costick, you have any further comments on that one?
Pretty much covered it in the announcements as to what the criteria is. And just to reiterate, the closing of nominations of a name, whether it's a personal name or a place or a thing, is all due by December the 1st, and no names will be considered after that date.
Thank you, Ms. Costick. Any other reports from board committees?
Are we on the 7th?
President Wilson,
Yes, sir.
policy will meet 3:30 December 15th. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was it, yeah.
Buildings will meet on, Buildings and Grounds will meet on December the 7th at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Dr. Ryan King.
I'm looking.
Okay.
We're gonna meet December 14th at 7:15 a.m.
Awesome.
Parent
Thank
Teacher
you.
Advisory.
You said December 14th?
Correct.
Okay. Procurement Committee
We don't have a meeting set up for that yet.
meeting? Okay.
Yeah, we just need to meet before the policy committee,
Before
so,
the
yeah,
policy.
so we need to set the date so we can finish up.
Policy on the 7th,
Policy committee is meeting on the 15th.
15th, okay.
Mhm.
So
So
we'll
we
set
need
up,
to move before that, get our work done, and then we can move
right,
on.
submit it to policy. Okay.
Sounds good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.